Hi, it's Dre Griggs with Obsidian Wisdom. Today we answer the question, how do I build a philosophy of wealth? When it comes to building wealth, you're really going to have three relationships with money. When I say philosophy, that's really what I'm talking about. What is your attitude towards money? What is your relationship with money? What is your beliefs about money? When I say your beliefs, I'm talking about how do you get it? How do you keep it? What do you do with it? This all has to come down to really three things. The first one is I spend all that I make. The second one is I spend what I make. And the third one is I spend less than what I make. This is the core foundation of all of our money philosophies in our relationship and our beliefs about money. If you spend more than what you make, then it's very difficult for you to make any changes. Your life is literally living paycheck to paycheck, and then you're opening new credit cards here to help pay the balances on the old cards, and you're shifting and moving around. And it's so much energy that you have to spend on that it's very difficult for you to even think of a way to get out of the debt, let alone to really change the philosophy. If you don't change your philosophies and you spend more than what you make, even if we put a plan together that eliminates your debt, and I've done that, where you'll meet with someone and you'll be like, hey, let's take out a consolidation loan, or let's refinance the house to a lower payment so that you're able to have the excess cash flow so you can put that on towards your debt, and we will get out of debt. It'll take us sometimes an instant because we just, got a loan and was able to consolidate everything. Other times they want to refinance their house and kind of get rid of the debt that way. There are times where they want to sell a car and they want to make drastic changes like right away. But if you don't change your relationship with money, your beliefs about money, and your philosophy, you'll find in 5 years you'll be exactly where you started. You will again have the same amount of debt, and you may have the debt of new with the debt of old, where you still have the consolidation loan and now you have the new debt because you put the balances back on the cards because our philosophy, our beliefs, our relationship with money hasn't changed. If you spend more than what you make, it is going to be a difficult situation for you to get out of debt and for you to build wealth. If you spend exactly what you make, so every time you get a raise, you get a 3% raise here, and then you spend that 3% raise. You go get a new car, or you go on a vacation, or you get a bigger house, or whatever the changes that you make, you always have that income creep, and you spend exactly what you make. If you spend exactly what you make, that requires you to maintain the job or the career or the business or whatever it is that you currently have to maintain your lifestyle. If there is any change that you decide you want to make, so there are people that'll be like, you know what, Dre, I don't want kids, and then they have a kid, and they're like, Dre, I want a whole bunch of kids. There'll be people that say, I wanted to be a lawyer, and then they like, well, dang, Dre, I have to work so much that it changes. There are people who wanted certain sales jobs, but then they had kids and they didn't want to travel that much. They wanted to kind of be at home with their family. If you spend all that you make, you no longer have the flexibility to make the changes as your needs and your wants adjust. Which is why, I don't know, like 70% of people last time I think I looked are unhappy with their life or their job or their situation because they are required to maintain a lifestyle that no longer suits them. There is something that they would rather do with their time and they're unable to do it because they spend all that they make. If that is your relationship with money, then again, you don't have the flexibility to build wealth and to make changes as you see fit. And I have found that flexibility is very important. And when it comes to building wealth, you want to leave flexibility in place because things are going to change. You don't want to live on a hope and a prayer where you're like, all right, if everything goes exactly right, I will be out of debt in 6 months and I'll have $1 million 6 months after that. And then I can retire and live on, my island in Malibu or wherever you're going to live on your island at. Because you and I both know that rarely happens. If you are living paycheck to paycheck, where the exact amount of money that you get, all of it is gone, where there's a lot more month at the end of the money, the stress of balancing your budget and keeping things intact becomes very hard for you, where you just feel that you don't have enough money to do things, but you can't figure out how you don't have enough money. You know that the amount of money that you make, you should be able to stay on top of your bills. You should be able to get out of debt. You should be able to still enjoy life and take the trips and these different adventures that you want to go on, but it shouldn't be as hard as it is. And you find that when you spend everything that you have, then it becomes difficult to build wealth because you are spending all of your money to maintain the current lifestyle. The third philosophy that you would have with money, the third attitude or relationship that you would have with money is I spend less than what I make. Ideally, if you've read the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, they talk about spending 70% of your income and then you would allocate the other 30% towards like giving and helping other people, towards your investments, towards paying yourself and things like that. You don't want to have a relationship with money where I get it and then I spend it. Because that relationship, that's just not a good relationship. You don't want money to come in your hands and then leave. Unfortunately, in my community, there is a study that said that, I don't know, that a dollar less in the black community, I forget the number. It was like 10 seconds or like 16 seconds. It was a crazy number where you get the money and you spend the money. And the issue with that is if the money is always coming and going from you, then you never have the ability to put the money to work. See, my money philosophy, my belief with money is the money works and then you don't, right? That's where we all want to get to. Now, granted, there is going to be work for all of us. I don't think any of us wants to just sit outside and watch the sun rise and the sun set every day. We all have things that we want to do with our time, but you shouldn't be working for money. The money should be working for you. And the only way for you to have that philosophy, outside of just saying that you have that philosophy, is you have to spend less than what you make. Because when I say spend, I mean the money comes in, the money goes out. Now, some of you would say, Dre, that's just semantics. Whether you're investing the money or giving the money away, you're still spending the money. And I would say, no, that's not true. When you put money in an investment or when you give money to help someone else, when you invest in yourself or your financial future or any of these opportunities, you are like planting a seed in the ground. And yeah, sometimes the seeds will grow into a tree and sometimes the seeds won't grow into anything. And that happens. That's just a part of the society that we have. There's not a 100% plan that we put in place. And as a result, you have to have contingencies to make sure that you don't find yourself out in the street with nothing. But if your relationship with money is I spend it all, then you're not investing anything. You're not planting any seeds. You're giving your seeds away for someone else to possibly plant. If you invest the money in yourself, in your community, in relationships towards financial freedom, well, that's more like you're loaning the money. The money comes back with interest. For example, if I was to buy a stock and I gave my dollar to Coca-Cola and then Coca-Cola invested that dollar, Coca-Cola would say, hey, thanks, Dre. I appreciate you. And as a result, I'm going to give you back the dollar that you gave me. And I'm going to give you maybe an extra 10 cents on top of that because I really appreciate what you did. You helped me out. I was able to generate $2 from the $1 you gave me. And so I'm going to share in some of the profits with you. That is what loaning money is out. Now, granted, you may say, well, I loaned money to my cousin the other day and they never paid me back. And you're not wrong. I wouldn't tell you to loan your money to anybody. That is a part of investing where you want to figure out if it's a good investment. Every company in the stock market isn't worth your time. Every idea that someone shares with you isn't always a good idea. You want to vet these situations out, and you hear Warren Buffett and others talk about it all the time. You invest in what you know. And it doesn't mean that you're like, well, I go to McDonald's every day, so I'm going to invest in McDonald's. It would just mean that anything that you're interested in to care enough to research about. As someone who believes that wisdom is the foundation of happiness, wealth, and success, I spend a lot of time reading different philosophies and books and studies on the human mind and how we interact with things just to learn and absorb more. If you are someone who is interested in building wealth, then you would have to be in that third philosophy. That's where you would want to put your focus at. The third philosophy is I spend less than what I have. And it's not that you're hoarding the money, but if you've read The Richest Man in Babylon, in the book, they talk about spending about 70% of your income, and then you invest the other 30%. And there's a variety of ways to handle the other 30%. You could give 10% to your church or causes that you believe in, helping nonprofits and different events. You could then invest 20% of your money in your future where you pay yourself, and that money is the money that you're loaning out, and then you generate a profit off of that money, and then that money grows, and then you purchase your freedom with that. Others, if you still have debt, you may say, okay, well, I would invest 20% and then I'd put the 10% on my debt. But even though you think that that makes the most sense, I have found, and if you Google it, you will find it to be true, that there is a relationship between wealth, gratitude, appreciation, and generosity, things like this. It just kind of goes in that circle. So I am someone where my money philosophy says that some portion of your money has to go towards helping others. Whether you want to support a cause you believe in, whether you want to just buy Girl Scout cookies and that's your thing that you do, or you want to give money to your family when they need it, however you want to do it, if you wanted to give it to a hospital or a church, I believe that everyone should give something. Just like if you go to a restaurant, I believe everyone should tip them. If you can't afford a tip, then you shouldn't go to the restaurant because these people are doing a lot of hard work. And I'll give you a tip, pun intended, you tip them before you eat. So Jim Rome, he used to talk about paying people the tip beforehand. He said it was to ensure promptness. So if you tip someone before the work happens, you find that they're more invested in you. They're going to make sure that you have the best service because they get stiffed every day. Someone doesn't tip them. And they don't know if you're going to be one of those people or if you're going to be, someone that, brings a smile to their face. So I would just say the smallest things that you can do when you give that, even if it's 5%, even if it's 3% or 1%, when you have a portion of your money allocated towards giving to other people, that is the easiest, and I do mean the easiest way to bring a smile to your face. The appreciation that people will have. When I take my girls to a store and I say, hey, just go ahead and pick out a doll, and Lord knows I don't want them to pick out a doll. But they do, and they are smiling, they're giggling, they're telling me how awesome I am, and trying to butter me up, and I get it. They're playing the game and they're taking advantage of me. But that's true with all things. If you've ever just randomly gotten someone something, where you went to get yourself a coffee and you got a coworker coffee, they are so excited. They appreciate it so much that if you've ever donated to any cause, they are so grateful. They'll sometimes have the people that you donate, they'll make you like a video or write you a letter, and they'll tell you how much they appreciate you. If you've ever bought a Girl Scout cookie outside of a Walmart or a grocery store when you're going to it, and you see how much it impacts them, how grateful they are. Or when you've given someone like a good tip, I don't know, at a restaurant, the way to bring value and joy and satisfaction is not about being Scrooge McDuck and just having a whole bunch of money, in a vault and you swim in it every single day. It's more about the experiences that we create with the money. And some of these experiences are relatively cheap. The joy that you will feel from any of those events I just talked about is not taking a lot of money out of your budget, but if you don't allocate any of it towards your budget, you're going to be missing something. You're going to have a big hole. And so when you're able to donate some of the money towards these causes, it will encourage you to be able to donate to the other causes. And then you'll be able to say, okay, Dre, I'm living on 70% of my income, check. So I'm getting rid of all of my expenses and I'm making sure that I live off of that. And the beauty of that is, even if you get a raise and you cost creep, where your costs go up with your income, they're going up at the 70% mark. So if you got a raise, now maybe let's say you got a 5% raise. So now your current lifestyle, you're spending 65% of your income. And you'll say, you know what, Dre, I'm going to stick to the 70, I'm going to go up. But I would encourage you that if you're okay with your lifestyle, where there's not huge inflation going on, I would encourage you to live off the 65%. You won't feel anything. You've already used to the lifestyle that you have, and then allocate that 5% towards your debt or towards your financial freedom, where you're putting a larger percentage of your money towards your financial freedom. And I promise you, if you spend less than what you make, then you are going to have the money to be able to build the wealth that you need. It's difficult to build wealth if you spend more than what you make. It's difficult to spend wealth if you spend exactly what you make. You have to put yourself in a situation to have money that you can allocate towards these opportunities as they come up. When someone says, I have a Tesla and I'm willing to sell it for $1,000, wouldn't it be nice that you had $1,000 that's just sitting in an account and you could buy it? Even if you say, Dre, I would never buy, I would never drive, I would never keep, all of that is fine. But the value is there. Wouldn't you get something if the value was there? I would. Even if I had no intention of keeping it and I would just sell it tomorrow, I at least had the ability to take advantage of that opportunity. Someone who lives on all of their income and someone who lives on more than what they make, they cannot take advantage of that opportunity as easily and readily as we could. You want to be able to be outside of the 78% of Americans that live paycheck to paycheck. And you want to be outside of, I think it was something about the same number, about 80% of Americans don't have the ability to find $1,000